What's your favorite joke? There were two cats. One was named 123, the other was named Uendextrois. They came upon a river and needed to swim across. Only one of them lived. Which one? 123, because Uendextrois cat sank. Oh, I got a story related to this. So I used to deliver pizza, and every so often you get someone asking you to write a joke on the box lid. Now we were underpaid and overworked at this job, so one night I wrote my career when asked to write a joke on the box. They didn't get it, and my boss made me drive 8 miles back to the person's house to explain the joke. I think the fact I had to go back to explain the joke says it all. One I heard here, actually. So one day, a highway patrol officer was parked on the side of the road keeping an eye out for speeders and whatnot. All of a sudden, he sees a man in a convertible with like 5 penguins in the backseat. The officer immediately takes off after the guy, turns on his lights, and pulls him over. The officer approaches the vehicle on foot and says, "Say, why do you have all these penguins with you?" The man just looks at the officer and shrugs. Taken aback, the officer tells the man, "Well, you should take them to the zoo immediately." The man lights up and says, "Wow, that's a great idea. I'll take them right now." So the officer bids the man a good day and returns to his earlier spot. A few hours pass and all of a sudden, the same convertible passes with the same 5 penguins in the backseat. Aghast, the officer chases down the car, pulls him over, and angrily stomps over to the driver and says, "Hey, I thought I told you to take these penguins to the zoo." Surprised, the man turns and says, "I did. Now we are going to the movies." Anyone who has ever seen Boondock Saints will know this one. So 3 men are walking down the street, a white guy, a black guy, and a Mexican. One of them grabs a genie lamp and rubs it. Out come the genie. "Hello gentlemen, as 3 of you have rubbed the lamp, each of you get 1 wish." The black guy goes first. "I want me and all my black brothers and sisters to be back in Africa." The genie snaps, and the wish is granted as the Mexican dude speaks up. "I want me and all my Mexican brothers and sisters back in Mexico." The genie snaps, and he wish is granted as he looks at the white guy. "So what do you wish for, sir?" "So all the black are in Africa and the Mexicans are back in Mexico?" "Yes, that is correct." "Then I'll have a Coke." A guy is preparing to take a girl to prom, but he has to do 3 things first. Buy flowers, rent a limo, and get a suit. He goes to get flowers, but there's this long line of people getting flowers, so he waits. Eventually he gets his flowers. He goes to rent a limo, and again there's a long line. But he waits, and is able to rent a limo. He then goes to get a suit, and yet again there's a long line of people waiting to get suits. However, he is patient, and waits in line, and eventually, he gets his suit. Prom night arrives and everything is going great. He and his date are having an awesome time, and his date asks him to get her some punch. But guess what? There's no punchline. So an English teacher went to Germany to teach the German kids English words. On day 1 he taught them all the words beginning with the letter A. On day 2 he taught them all the words beginning with the letter B. After day 3, which was words beginning with C, he wondered how are they gonna handle D-Day. 2 drunks get kicked out of the bar when it closes and decide that they want to continue drinking. So one tells the other to just come to his house, where he has some drinks hidden in the cellar. The other agrees, and off they go. So they arrive at the house. "This here is my house." "Huh? No, that's my house." And they argue back and forth whose house it is, until the door opens, and a woman lucks out. Again. Yen pound percent cent carat dollar sign. Of course, both drunk out of their minds. Like father, like son. There was a dog who sang out of his butt. He got a job at Carnegie Hall. Right before he was supposed to go on, he started pooping all over the stage. The manager comes out and says, "What are you doing?" And the dog says, "I'm just clearing my throat. I have a few." A doctor says to her husband, "Your wife has a cute angina." And the husband says, "I know doc, but what about her heart?" Why didn't Ken and Barbie never have kids? A Ken came in a different box. How will everyone remember Bill Clinton in history? The president after Bush. A man walking through a hotel lobby accidentally bumps into a woman, hitting her breast with his elbow. Embarrassed, he says, "Ma'am, if your heart is as soft as your breast, I know you'll forgive me." She says, "Sir, if your penis is as hard as your elbow, I'm in room 210. I like jokes where nobody laughs, and the teller doesn't understand it isn't funny and keeps trying to repeat it. My first day of stats class the Professor Modern Batch, or something like that, said most students call me Mr. Mode, and you can call me anything, as long as you don't call me Mr. Mean. It was an 8 AM class and everyone was half asleep, so he got 0 laughs. So he said something about nobody hearing him, and kept repeating it. Then he explained the joke, mean, median, mode, and repeated it again until someone gave him a pity laugh. Internally, I was dying. That was the most hilarious joke I've ever witnessed. A guy and a girl goes up to a room to have sex. Afterwards the guy says to her, "If I'd known you were a virgin I'd have gone slower." To which she replies, "If I'd known you had more time, I'd have taken of my pantyhose." Ukrainian and French survived the crash. Nationality does not make sense in this situation. They woke up on an island with a wild tribe. The leader of the tribe told them to go into the jungles on the island and get any growth there. The first was a Ukrainian. He found a wild vine of grapes in the jungle. The leader told him to bend down and shove what he brought in his ass, and if he did not utter a single emotion, he would survive. The Ukrainian began to shove. Everything was fine, but on the last grape he began to laugh. He was fried and eaten, and when the Ukrainian and Francis met in heaven, he asked how he died. "And I put the last grape in the ass, and I saw you with a rose with hefty thorns and started laughing." A family buys a lie detector that makes a ding whenever a lie is told. The dad tests it out by asking his son what he did today. The son says he did homework. Ding. The dad again asks what the son did, and the son replies that he was watching porn. The dad is shocked and says that when he was his son's age, he never watched porn. Ding. The mom then says, "He sure is your son." Ding. 3 pregnant women were in the hospital ward awaiting delivery. One said, "Mine will be a boy because my husband was on top." Another said, "Mine will be a girl because I was on top." The third said, "Oh my god, I'm going to have a puppy." A farmer comes by his friend's, also farmer, house. He knocks on the door, and the friend's younger son answers. "Hey kiddo, where's your dad?" "Oh, he got run over by a tractor." "Oh my god, I'm so sorry, where is your mom then?" "She was also run over by a tractor." "Mom too. Where's your older brother?" "He too got run over by a tractor." "Then what are you doing all day?" "Driving the tractor." A nurse walks into a hospital room to a man on a ventilator. The man looks concerned. "Nurse, are my testicles black?" The nurse looks shocked and says, "Sir, that's not really what we are treating. Please nurse please, are my testicles black?" "Sir, calm down. I'm sure everything is fine." "Nurse, you've got to tell me, are my testicles black?" So the nurse lifts up the sheet and adjusts the gown and inspects his testicles. "No sir, they are not. Everything's fine." The man removes the mask from his face and says, "Thank you. Now listen carefully. Are my test results back?" My girlfriend asked why I carry a gun around the house. I looked her dead in the eye and said, "The motherfucking Decepticons." She laughed. I laughed. The toaster laughed. I shot the toaster. It was a good time. Semicolon. / it's corny, but I love it. Best told in person. A bear walks into a bar and says, "I'll order a beer," and while the bartender is making the drink he says, "Why the long pause?" And the bear says, "I don't know, my dad has long pause." A young guy is visiting his girlfriend's house to have dinner with her father. While they were eating, the father looked at the guy and asked, "Young man, do you have a job?" The guy shook his head and answered, "No, but I know God will help me." Again, the father glanced at the guy before asking, "Young man, do you have your own home to live in?" The man shook his head for a second time and quickly said, "No, but I know God will help me." As dinner was coming to a close, the father asked a final time, "Young man, do you have any savings to support yourself and my daughter?" The man shook his head for the third time and answered, "No, but I know God will help me." After the young man left to go back home, the girl asked her father, "Dad, what do you think of him?" After a moment of thought, he shrugged and said, "He sucks, but I like what he calls me." There's 2 muffins sitting in an oven. The first muffin says, "Boy, it sure is hot in here." The other muffin says, "Holy shit, a talking muffin." Also, why did Sally fall off the swing? Because she had no arms. Knock knock. Who's there? Not Sally. Patient, I just don't understand why I can't get a date therapist. Have you tried flirting? Patient, I've tried biting my lip seductively. Therapist, can you show me? Patient, *BITES lip therapist, maybe try biting your top lip. I have to. Am I allowed to? I'm telling you to. #1. What did the deaf, dumb, and blind kid get for Christmas? Cancer. #2. A lady goes to a gynecologist for a checkup. She climbs on the bed and puts her feet in the stirrups, and the doctor comes in and takes a good look between her legs. He looks closely and says, "I'm gonna need to make it numb." She says, "Okay." So he puts his face between her legs and goes num 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 num. Close bracket. Here's 2 I made up. I got rid of the lice I've been having for weeks the other day. That problem's finally out of my hair. A locomotive filled with my emotions left without me. In other words, I lost my train of thought. So this cola is going on an interview for his dream job. He crushed the interview, and 2 days later he gets a call from the place. "We were going over your records, and it appears you have the qualifications. Congratulations, sir." The cola jumps around and is filled with joy, for his dreams are finally coming true. As he slowly gets more comfortable in his new job, he slowly puts less effort in his work. A few months later his boss calls him to the office. He sits him down and tells him, "Look, it was really great having you work here and all, but you're doing the bare minimum. You're fired." After all his hard work to get where he was, and it was over just like that. His hopes, his dreams, everything he worked for, gone. It was so unbearable for the cola that he turned to alcohol to cope. The cola walks into a bar and the bartender says, "I'm sure your life is very tough." The cola says, "Try ruining your life with your bare hands." A cop pulls over a man driving a minivan full of penguins. He asks if the man has a license for all the penguins, and the guy says no. Cop says, "I want you to take these penguins to the zoo immediately," and the guy says no problem. The next day the cop sees the same guy driving the same minivan full of penguins. He pulls him over again and says, "Hey, I thought I told you to bring these penguins to the zoo." The guy says, "I did. Today we are going for ice cream."